is a parent doing? Dear students, this is my number. So, if any one of you wish to ask a question regarding environmental ecology, please consult, please you can send a question to me. Right? And while sending the question, please do mind, don't ask me the question that why this is correct, why this is not correct. Try to give your opinion on it, right? And also try to give me the context. This I got it from this particular source, this newspaper, on this particular date, I am getting confused. So, let us try to do that. I have this number only, okay. I do not have any two numbers, neither am I a property dealer nor wish to become. So, this is an Airtel number. Sometimes it makes me in a quite troublesome situations, because sometimes the signals are not available in some. But anyway, so this number is with me since 2006. So, I am not going to change. Okay. So, you can always use. But while you ask the question, please give me the context. That will be much better. Yesterday we have defined what is meant by population. Please remember the discourse that we have been having till now is we try.
When they hit the beach. Cast.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. No. It's okay. Good. So I tell truth, right? झूठ नहीं बोल. That's okay. Please remember, we have been trying to break this code of ecological study by defining what is environment, by defining what is ecosystem, by defining what is ecology. And in this, we have been trying to study the fundamental features of ecosystem in the last 2-3 days, where we try to answer that any ecosystem will have the structures and functions. In the structure, we talk about living and non-living, and in the function, we talk about transfer of energy and the cycling of chemicals that we have already done. Now, we have to go to the population ecology a little bit, then we will go to the community ecology, then we will go to biodiversity, then we will go to climate change, then we will go to environmental legislation, followed by certain facts and figures of pollution. Okay? That is how we will be treating the subject. Yesterday we said that a population is a group of individuals belonging to the same species. Okay? So, in this particular ecosystem there will be, okay. So, in this particular community, in this particular jungle, you have the population of A, population of B and population of C. They are different population, right? And here what you see is a community. Here you see in a particular national park is a community, right? Here you see in Karol Bagh is a community, where people belonging to different groups, different society, or for example, different regions will come. Okay. We all are human species, but when we talk about community in social context, people belonging to different faiths, different regions, and so like this in a jungle or in any natural, okay, you human beings, some villages will be here, some villages are there. They are a human population, right? Interacting with the tiger population, interacting with the elephant population, interacting with the stain of teak trees there, bamboo groups. That becomes community. But from that, if you take out individuals of the same kind, okay, you got it what is called population, right. So, in this particular area we have plants, we might be some stray dogs also here, right, but human beings separates out as a human population. Okay, stray dog have their own population, plants have their own population. inside the population, every individuals will be belonging to the same species and they are interbreeding. And in the community, you have different populations, right. So, this is the population that we have defined. Population is a group of individuals, okay, which are interbreeding, belonging to the same type, interacting each other in a given, okay, ecosystem of the same type, right. So, this population has got certain characteristics, okay. The characteristics of population is what we will be doing now. Characteristics of population. What are characters that differentiate the individuals from the population, right? We know that this is a group of populations, this is a group of human individuals, but there are certain characters in this particular group, okay, which I do not have, which I started having when I am with you, okay. Those are called as the characters of population. When you are alone, you don't have that character, but when you are in this group, you started carrying that character, and those are the one that characterizes, that differentiates the population from individuals, and we call it characteristics of populations. Number one characteristics of the population, very funny to say, okay. How many of you have more than 2 birthdays? Hey, do you have 2 birthdays? You have 2 birthdays? Do you have 2 birthdays? You have only one. You have only one. You only one. Okay. Every one of us might be having one birthday, right? It's true. But I have 3 birthdays. Okay. For example, I was born on, say, that's what my mother told me when I got very old, that is 17th of May. My mother will always tell me that, okay, you were born on in a summer, and that day was no electricity, nothing, you are not a good child, okay, disturbing. So, that was the only thing that my mother used to tell me. She also exactly did not know when was I born, because no recording, nothing. To be of great surprise, my elder brother, who is now serving in Bharat Petroleum, is in Mumbai now, Shuri, and my sister, who teaches in one of the universities, and myself, we all 3 were born in the same room, okay, by the same lady who used to be the midwife of our locality. हम तो उसी को देखते ही डर लगते थे. If somebody is crying, then I will call and everyone will be silent, okay. She is what you call as dai, or what you call as a midwife. No nursing, no clinic. In my village, if somebody is pecking and going to hospital, then we started crying. We visit hospital only as a last resort, okay, to declare, the doctor said that, okay, you die. Children, okay, giving birth to the house is quite normal, okay. So, we 3 brothers and sisters were born in the same room, okay, to the same mother, and my mother did not record when were we born, okay. अब दाई से पूछो तो गाली देगा आपको, क्या हर दिन में जाते रहते हो, okay. And if you happen to look at, when I was growing up, when I was 8th or 6th standard, till then it was very, very common, and she used to cut the umbilical cord with a topaz blade that is available, right. No sterilization, nothing, and luckily because of the good environmental condition or so, we are still immunized, and I am still surviving to speak in front of you. But today, if you happen to see this kind of things, even in the hospital, people will show you, you will go to the court, right. So, that was the time. Then my mother, after 6 days, 2, 3, 4 or 5 days, might have gone to a Panditji's house to write the Kundali, and might be asking, when was he born? Oh, she was born in the evening, there was no sunshine. Then he will say that, okay, if it is not sunshine, then the boy is considered to be born in the next day. That is the kind of thing that the day is divided into 8 hours, okay, sunshine and all sort of things. So, I exactly do not know, and in my family or in my locality, a particular girl or the boy asking the age to the mother is a very embarrassing moment, and sometimes they will start asking, are you going to marry? That is why you are asking the age. Exactly it happened. I came to know about my biological age, that is 17th of May, when I was supposed to get married, when I was 35. Then only the Kundli was taken out, photocopied and so on. I also showed it to one of my friends who were preparing with me for the civils, and then he was serving in the railway, and still today, show me your hand. He is very, okay, he is from Bihar, as a room partner of mine. So that was what I came to know, that 17th of May. Okay, my wife will be always scolding me. Okay, तुम तो अपने date of birth भी नहीं जानते, क्या जाने? That's the kind of thing that we have. My second birthday is when my class teacher of the 10th standard let 48 of us born on the same date. Okay, so that is what is your certificate is. Okay. So that is again very sad. It is 1st of April 1979. Okay, I am much older than this date, but this particular teacher will come and say, look, because that time no photocopy, nothing. My teacher has to go to the examination board and have to bring exactly the same number of form that your school will be sending to the board for the board exam, and everyone will be dictated by him. You write like this, you write like this, you write like this. Nobody bothered asking the parents when were you born. Every girls and every boys in my class were born on the same day, that is 1st of April 1979. Okay. So, and we happily accepted it. Teacher counted, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, you should be 15 years of age when you clear this exam, 18 years of age when you compete for this exam. So everyone was born on the same date, okay, 48. Another birthday of mine that I celebrated was when I cleared my matriculation exam. I never thought that I would clear my matriculation exam, because mathematics was superbly exciting to me and I could not do anything worthwhile. So I passed the matriculation exam because of the trigonometry. You know, there is a trigonometry, there are two parts, okay. One is arithmetic and one trigonometry. Trigonometry is logical, reasonable, and you can read and you can reflect on it. So there were 48 pages in that small booklet of trigonometry that carries around 48 to 50 marks. And I by-hearted that book. And that book is still treasured and kept in my library in Delhi also. I have taken to Mumbai, I have taken to Pune, I have taken to Pathankot when my brother was there and I was there with him. So, and in Delhi also, now I just nicely covered and kept. I think that it's because of this that I could, okay, serve the society. Because till our 8th standard, we were taught mathematics by our Manipuri literature teacher. And it was exciting. He will tell story, he will tell logic, he will bring things from his home. And look, kids, it's like this. The cone has this many sphere, cylinder has got 2 edges, and then he will take out his pencil box, and then, so that was quite exciting. Then our class, then our principal, new principal came. The principal said that, okay, the mathematics has to be good. So we were taught starting from 8th standard by a particular mathematician who was a PhD, and that makes all of our mathematics crazy. He was expecting PhD from an 8th standard student. How can it be? And he used to come from the back side and started beating everyone else from here. And all our mathematics, you know, become volatile and sublimated, nothing. So that was very tough. But till our 8th standard, it was quite good and logical. And when I cleared the exam with my passing percentage of mathematics, I thank God. And this mathematics which I left, okay, long time ago, later on become very important when I do my PhD collecting the data. That time it got excited because I could communicate with the mathematics. So I always think that that particular movie, 3 Idiots, you know, mathematics or engineering you might be knowing much more than me, but पढ़ाने की तरीका, you have seen that movie, right? It is an entertainment movie, but sometimes, you know, it gives a lot of motivations and reasons of doing it. So everyone was searching, and he was writing the name of his 2 friends and some words adding prefixes and suffixes to it, and everyone got crazy. So you know mathematics and engineers more than us, but it's a way that you teach. That is what I really expect. So our mathematics teacher was excellent, was good, and he combed his ear like, you know, Radhakrishnan. And he was a crazy guy. Okay, I'm so sorry to say against my teacher, but it was the trigonometry, logical, that, you know, 9th standard, the SURD came, okay, SURD, SURD, as a mathematics, subset, set. That was really difficult. But anyway, these 3 birthdays I have, okay, but biologically, can you have 3? Absolutely not. You are born only once and you die only once. That's very sure. Okay, you are born only one. But when I talk about the group of individuals, you have different birthdays. Even if tomorrow there is an economic blockage, dharna in Delhi, everyone has to be shut, okay, inside the house. I am sure that some babies will be born in the hospitals of the Delhi. New babies are getting born, new birthdays are coming up when we talk about population. But when I talk about the individuals, I cannot claim that. Are you getting what I am saying? So, in the population, young babies are born, okay. Tomorrow also new one will be born. Today many people will die and tomorrow will be the same thing again, right. So, the first characteristics which individual does not have, but the population has, is what is called as natality, okay, birth rate or birth rate. This particular birth rate will be missing when we talk about the single individuals. You cannot say that I am born twice. Some people might have said, but this is philosophical. Asaram Bapu ke satsang sunne ke baad dobara janam hoga. People used to talk. I am telling you exactly. Okay, 1997, 98. I used to visit my brother who was posted in Pathankot at that time, and he was a young man and bachelor, and he has a motorcycle. He used to wear the shoes which I cannot dream about myself, right. So, and we are of the same size, so I used to wear his shoes and went to the market. That's very interesting. And he introduced me listening, classical songs and Jagzit's music, and so that was very exciting. But during that particular time, his company, okay, gave an accommodation to my brother, which was on lease. So, the owner was in the ground floor and we used to stay in the first floor. So, a big hall was given by the company to him. Every morning around 7 o'clock, they will start, puja, and then the gentleman, the owner of the house, will be calling us, beta aa jao satsang shuru hone wala. It was exactly that guy who later on become jail as a home of him. He was an icon, and I have seen many people following him like anything. The television mein puja karte, people put agarbatti when he comes. So, oh my life, I have been reborn after listening this satsang. People talk about it, right. But biologically you cannot say that. We do not see any kind of things which can be called as an immortal. Even the cells inside your body which keep on dividing, after dividing itself for near about 22 times, the cell knows that I should die and should be represented by the other. If that particular cell of your body has stopped forgetting, okay, this particular, or is forgetting this particular pattern, then it is becoming what we call as a cancer, okay, they start spreading, right. So, cancer is nothing but in unorganized growth of the cells. Every cell, is programmed to die, and this is what we call in biology as apoptosis. Cancer cell has forgotten this particular apoptosis. You give the food items, they keep on growing. Whatever you eat it, they will use it for growth, right. This is a very crazy thing about the cancerous cell, and that is because of something wrong in their DNA. And that is the reason why many of my colleagues who are oncologists said that the only solution will be genetic therapy or some kind of cell, okay. You try to mutate it and make it normalize, okay. So, otherwise it is very difficult. Program. There is a particular cells, I am so sorry, I will take 2 minutes. HeLa cells, kabhi suna hai aap logon ne? HeLa cells. Suppose you are a cancer doctor and you want to research, you want to publish a paper in Nature or Lancet or Science, which is accepted by the world as the best magazine, and you become an authority on one concept and a scholarship, you have to work on HeLa cells. Otherwise, people will not accept. Suppose there is a rat which is cancerous, having cancer liver, I take it out and work on the cancerous liver. But people will argue, have you worked on HeLa cells? What is HeLa? HeLa comes from a particular lady name called Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks, okay. Henrietta Lacks was a slave which was born in America in a particular farming slave family, and they were doing tobacco plantation. She spent her lifetime collecting the tobacco, drying the tobacco, packing the tobacco, and is taken by somebody who could buy. This particular lady got married to another slave, okay, and then they moved to Baltimore in North America. Do you know the reason why the Americans North and South were fighting? They were fighting not because of the love of slaves, please tell. Okay. remember, because the northern people wants to use the slave as the laborer of their industry. So, they want free slaves. That is why emancipation and all things comes into picture. No hospitals in America was treating the black Americans, slaves. It was only Baltimore, which is now having what is called a Johns Hopkins Hospital. This is one hospital which have got the maximum number of Nobel Prize in medicine today, Johns Hopkins Hospital. So, Johns Hopkins Hospital was the only hospital which were treating the blacks. Do you know why they were treating the blacks? Because they want the black to be healthy, so that they serve well in the, but there was no consent at all. You might have donated bloods many times, but you get a certificate, right? You have a consent. I am willingly giving this particular blood. So, in Baltimore during 1948 and 50s, all the white people, when they came to the hospital and want to do biopsy or any test, you were given a consent form. Without your consent, you cannot do. Proper record was maintained. But there is another colored hospital blocks in the Baltimore, where the black peoples were coming and treating, and no consent form was signed from them. It is a reality. So, during that particular time, doctors knew and scientists knew that there is something called cancer which is affecting us, but they really do not know how to grow the cells of culture. सबसे पहले वो भी तो grow करना पड़ेगा ना. You grow the cells, then you started treating with the medicine, and you said that, oh, it's effective. Many doctors and scientists tried how to culture the cancer cells. I have taken a tissue from you which is cancerous, and put in a test tube, and I want to grow it to see how they are behaving. But none of them were successful. It was only this particular lady, Henrietta Lacks, who came here in this particular hospital, and the doctor were taking a part of the tissue of her reproductive parts. So, she was having a cervical cancer. So, biopsy was done, and people were trying to culture, and there were one nurse and her husband who was a doctor. They were trying to culture the cancer cells. Every day they got failure. So, one day after collecting these cells from Henrietta Lacks, and they were putting in a test tube with culture medium. The husband was having the sandwich, the wife came and said that, shall we check whether the cell is growing or not? The husband said, oh, kal ki jaisa hi hoga, kuch nahi hoga. But when she came to the laboratory, she was stunned that the cells taken from Henrietta Lacks' cervix was growing and it was overflowing. That was the first time the cancer cell was successfully grown by humans. The cells from me is taken by the doctor and is now growing there. And please remember, from the day it was collected and cultured till today, cells are very, very small, right? You cannot see. If I stitch this particular cell one by one, you have gone to the surface of the moon and come back, gone to the 400 times. The cell is still growing. And some company have minted the money by selling the cancer cells. So, there is one particular lady who is called as Rebecca Sklook. She is an investigative journalist from, I think she works in New Yorker, and one day she came back and was just lying down and fan was moving, and she started asking the question. My teacher in biology told me once that cancer cells do not stop growing, and we were told about the HeLa cells, and she started asking herself, can I go and find out where is this particular HeLa family? But please remember, there is a lot of this is the medical ethics is very, very important. When she started investigating, nobody was willing to share anything to him. Henrietta Lacks died after 1 year submitting this particular cancer cells. Doctors have used her body as a guinea pig, no consent form. She was given radiation, she was given toxic chemicals, packaged in the cervix of her body. So, very pathetic. She died because of cancer. But later on, Rebecca Sklook found out that Henrietta Lacks have got 2 daughters. The elder daughters died in the mental asylum, and the young Lacks, Henrietta Lacks ki, the youngest daughter, she was molested, raped by the family members, and she could not even complete education, school education. Henrietta Lacks' sons had never gone to any higher secondary. They were going to jail, coming back. Now, at one point of time, on the other side, America is now at the zenith of all the things and claiming to the world that we have cultured the cells and they are minting money. There is an economy of Henrietta Lacks cells. And see about the family who have given this particular gift to the science. Just imagine you as a people coming from Hindu family, will you be feeling good your mother's part is growing in some laboratory somewhere else? Somebody have to counsel me, otherwise it will be so difficult for me to swallow, right? People are even reluctant to share the cornea eye transplantations, right? So, at one point of time, and on the other side the country is minting money, selling the things, my mother's cell is being commodified, and here I am unable to complete my school education. So, this particular book called as Henrietta Lacks, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, got a Pulitzer Award few years ago. It is a wonderful piece of artwork as far as the medical ethics is concerned. Okay. So, it is very interesting how the cancer cells. Siddharth Mukherjee has also written some books, very interesting. Anyway, so natality and birth rate, even the cells inside your body is going to die, is going to be born, right, is going to divide. So, natality, it is not in individual characters, as a population. Then you talk about mortality, death rate, okay. Then we talk about migration, okay. These are some of the characteristics, okay. Population migrate, elephants migrate from a part of the forest in Bangalore to another parts, right, it happens. So, these are some of the characters. Let me also tell you one character here, distribution of the population in a particular ecosystem, distribution, okay, distribution of the population. For example, in some cases the individuals are distributed like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This kind of distribution, if you happen to find, it is called as uniform distribution of population, uniform, okay. Why it is uniform? Because it is predictable. I can predict that you are 1 foot away from me, left side, right side, front, okay, back. Uniform distribution. What is important for this particular class is, if somebody asks you or in the examination it comes, look, if you happen to go to a particular natural ecosystem which is called chaparral grassland in southern part of California and the northern part of Mexico and Panama, you will find that grasses are uniformly distributed, fantastic, okay, someday you can visit. When you look at here in this grassland, that is the only grassland which receives rainfall in winter. We talked about the biomes yesterday. Otherwise, all the grassland, they usually are humid, wet in the summer, but here is ulta. If you happen to look at like this and see it, it seems that some gardeners have planted those particular shrubs in a very uniform manner, but it is done by nature. Nature has very interesting pattern, okay, of distributions. So, what might be the reason why the individuals are distributed in a uniform manner? What might be the reason? Have you, I think you might have seen the Mars part on the Janpat, oh no, I am sorry, Raspat, which is going to be renamed, right? Okay. Next, they said is Rajiv Chowk will be renamed, okay. So, you have seen those particular contingent army people going Mars part, quite uniform, right? If you break the uniformity, what will happen? It will be chaos. There will be stampede, right? NCC cadets, 400 of them are moving at the same speed, same distance. If someone stumble, then okay. So, why do you do this? Because this particular pattern of distribution reduces the competition. For example, plants are getting equal amount of sunshine, equal amount of, that is the reason why in your agricultural field you tend to distribute or you transplant the plants and weeds in a very uniform manner, and farmers. First of all, they will sow the seed, okay, your parents, okay, might be knowing and you might be knowing. So, first you sow the seeds, then new seedlings comes, then you pluck it, then one by one you do it, this is called transplantation, okay. So, we also do the transplantations, and then you talk about drip irrigation. What do? At certain points only water is given to the root part of the plant which is required. So, it reduces the competition, that is why uniform distributions are accepted. So, uniform distribution reduces what? Competition. It reduces competition. Competition for those particular factors which may be limiting. Another distribution is what we call as the clump distribution. Clump distribution. Individuals are aggregating at one particular point. Individuals are assembled in certain region. This might be because number one, resources are distributed here, or it may be because of social behavior. है ना? कई chimpanzee क्या होता है? They live in a group. They will hunt here and there, but later on they will come together. But in the case of frog, they will try to live near the bank of the river, where the habitat is good for them. Okay. So, this, please remember, this particular distribution which is called clump, or which is also called the Peche distribution, is the most common in the world. This is the most common distribution of individuals of the population in nature. Then the last one is what we call as random distribution, and random means like this, unpredictable. Random means unpredictable. What might be the reason why there is a random distribution of populations? Okay. It is because it is one of the ideal conditions. The resources are plenty, predators are not there, parasites are not there. That means you can grow at any point, any space, right. So, this is random. Random distribution happens when the conditions are better, environmental conditions are better, right. So, during the rainfall, every empty space, every barren area is covered by grasses going here and there, because there is probability of finding the resources everywhere. So, this is called random distribution of population. Number 5 is what is called as population growth. Okay. Population grows. Interestingly, when do you find the growth of the population? The population grows when natality is more than, say, mortality, birth rate is more than mortality. If the number of young ones coming up is more than the number dying, naturally the population will increase, right. What else? If the immigration is more than the immigration, if new refugees are coming in this area, then the number of people going to Canada, I think our population will definitely increase, right. So, this is how the population growth takes place. In this particular population growth, we have two population growth rate. Okay. Please remember, every species have got what is called as intrinsic. I am not going to derive this, but I am just going to make you aware that some mathematicians have given their brain into this particular intrinsic rate of population growth. Intrinsic rate of population growth. Population growth. This is R. Will R be similar to all the species? Do you think that R will be similar to all the species? Absolutely not. It is a constant and is specific to species. For example, human beings, let us suppose that a fertile woman started menstruating at the age of 15 and the menopause is at 45, then there is a fertile period of 30 years. Have you ever seen a woman being blessed with a 30 child? Mumtaz Mahal died in 14 child, right? Have you? But my grandmother was not Mumtaz, but she have given 14 children. Okay. My father is the eldest, right? So, my eldest brother is older than the youngest daughter of my grandfather. Okay. I have a experiment. I have experienced this. Okay. Interesting. But at last, my father has to satisfy living with his 6 of brothers and sisters. Out of 14 the rest of them died. Okay, maybe kwazorkar, maybe somebody drowned in water. Yeah, my grandmother used to cry and tell me, he was very fair and very good. I went to the field. When I come back, he was drawing in the. So many children's. Okay, तभी तो कहते कि बच्चे भगवान का देन है, because you never care of them. You leave it to Bhagwan only. So the best thing is that you give birth lot of children. If you are lucky, 6 of them survive. Cholera immunization was not there. So many people die because of cholera. When we were growing up, I still remember 2nd and 3rd standard, if you say this word cholera, you will be slapped by the elders. It seems to be a taboo. You cannot say this particular word, cholera. Okay? Because people were frightened. And someone or the other in your family have succumbed to cholera. So cholera is not a nostalgic term. Okay? It is, a taboo. I still remember. And then comes another word, HIV. Become a taboo. HIV. It seems that if you are speaking in front of an HIV patient, you started suffering from HIV. So people cannot utter a single word when HIV. Have you seen this movie called Philadelphia by Tom Hanks? 1993, got an Oscar award. You should see this movie. That bring, a whole these things. He was suffering from HIV and he was not given the job. And nobody was trying to fight a case again for him. So he read himself in the library and he stood for himself. And for the first time, the American establishment accepted that HIV patient can also contribute in society, can serve in a society. So some of these were interesting movies, Anyway, every species, and for the rabbit it will be so much more than humans, right? A rabbit can become mature in 2-3 months, started giving birth child, and in 1 year, they can, they will have a lot of extended families, right? So our value is intrinsic, it's biological, it is species specific, okay. Then we have another term which is called K, carrying capacity. Carrying capacity of ecosystem, given ecosystem. Carrying capacity. Do you think that Jim Corbett National Park, be kind enough to host naturally 34,000 tigers? No. Okay, why? Because it is beyond its capacity. Can we have 10,000 students sitting in this room? Absolutely not, right? For that you have to go to the wonderland and chew a part of the mushroom and you become a tiny little Alice, Alice in Wonderland, mushroom then become smaller, one he become bigger, she become bigger, ye nahi hota. So there is a carrying. Suppose this particular bottle, can I put 1 liter of water here? Absolutely not, because the carrying capacity is only for 150 ml. This is 1 glass of water, So carrying capacity of the ecosystem is nothing but the maximum number of individuals that the ecosystem can carry without any harm for long time. Isko carrying capacity. Please remember, this word is very important when you talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development ki one of the pillar is carrying capacity. To what extent are you going to develop? How large your dam, how large your factory, how much area should be allocated for national park or the wildlife sanctuary without infringing the rights of the people there. So carrying capacity is a very important term. Here what I have introduced you is every individual has a specific rate of childbirth, and when you give birth child, individuals number will increase, but the ecosystem may carry some number, not beyond that, and that maximum number is called as carrying capacity. By using this particular, and let n represent the total number of individuals. Total number of individuals of the species, and T represents a particular time. There was one scientist called Lotka in US. Another scientist in Italy called Volterra, you know, that was the time when there was no internet, no mobile telephone. So, these two of the mathematician, one located on the other side of the Atlantic coast, another one on another, they come out with a mathematical formula of finding out the rate of population growth. Very interesting. Okay, and they came out with this particular, if you know this particular, so let me use it. So they said the rate of the increase of the population, there is, so differential equation. So at a particular given point of time, how much of the individuals is there, they come out with this. If the environment is ideal, very good, plenty of food items, no danger, right? Suppose if everyone born today is promised by God that you will live for 100 years and you can give birth as many child as you can, all of them will be healthy and all of them will become IAS officer, let's say, then what will happen? I think the biotic potential, the maximum number of child that a particular family can have, everyone will be having it, because there will be no scarcity of food, there will be no scarcity of medicines, you will be healthy, you will be comfortable, you will not feel any pain, right? You will die when you are 100, no reporting, nothing is required, you will be healthy, running 100-meter race, but the clock ticks, you are 100, you die. Everyone will indulge in the childbirth. So they said if the condition is ideal, the weather is good, the food is available, predators are not there, competitors are not there, right? Parasite is not there. At that particular point of time, the maximum number of population growth takes place, and that is represented by this particular mathematical formula by Lotka and Volterra. R, what is R? Intrinsic rate of population growth, and then you simply multiply by total number of individuals, right? For example, a particular animal can give birth or have an intrinsic value of 5, let us say. Intrinsic, every individual has the capacity of giving birth 5 children in 1 year, let us say, and the total number of individuals today is 5. Tell me what will be the number? 5 multiplied by 5 is equal to 25. Next year, how much it would be? 5 multiplied by 25. How much? 125. Then 5 multiplied by 125 in the third year, 6, 55, 25, 625. So the population is now increasing in a arithmetic or in geometric or in exponential. It is exponential. So they said if the population is supposed to increase in a very, very comfortable and ideal condition, the population will go in what is called as Z-shape population growth. This is what he called as exponential growth. This is given by this. When do you happen this? When do you find this? When the environmental condition is good. Now, Lotka and Volterra again come out, but every individuals have this capacity, but why don't we see in nature? In nature, you do not climb to the exponential growth. In nature, what we generally find is the population increases very quickly at this time, then it will be asymptote and it will remain like this. This is what we find in nature. Suppose the island is empty, plenty of food is available, certain animals have been introduced, they increase their population very quickly like a Z-shape, then they remain at a particular stable conditions. Tiger wants to increase the number, the deer population goes down. When their population goes down, tiger dies. Then deer increase, tiger increase, down. So there is a cyclic pathway. So it remains like this. And what we find is this point is represented by K, carrying capacity. You try to increase, but it's pulled down because of competition. Then again you come up, you pull down. So this is K. And this particular population growth, this particular mathematicians represented it, dn upon dt is equal to Rn multiplied by 1 minus n upon k. Please remember, when the total number of individual is equivalent to this one, this particular factor becomes 0 and the rate of population increase is 0. No increase in population takes place.
So can the population crash if the individuals?
Definitely it crashes. Definitely. When in the case of, say for example, the J-shape population growth, it quickly increases and competition pressure was so much, then they crash down. Okay. That you can explain it by what is called as carrying capacity and also by what is called as range of tolerance, because that particular environment is no longer tolerable for you. You have eaten away everything, right? लेकिन एक और क्वेश्चन है, नेचर में ऐसे क्यों नहीं है? Why don't they become extinct? They reduce their number, but they don't go into extinction. Okay, tigers are eating the deer for millions of years, but deers are not becoming extinct. Rather, we are worried about the tigers going extinct. Okay, so nature has something. That's what we have studied in the principle of ecology, called as emergent property principle. So whatever little things that we learn about nature is incomplete. We have just started opening the pages. Okay, there are so many hidden things in nature that we have not studied yet, or we have not known yet. Okay, but anyway, so dn upon dt. So dn upon dt is 0 when this population reaches carrying capacity, not beyond that. So it will be increase and decrease. It will hang around here like a pendulum. It will go up, down, go. So this is dn upon dt is equal to Rn. This shows the population growth. Now the base and interesting part is, how will you explain this? Suppose on the 5th year you have reached this, but this particular fellow is going to take another, say, 10 years to reach this. What has happened to this region? Ye kya hai? What is this? Why you are not reaching your maximum level in 2 years? Why you are taking 22 years? When you can easily reach in 2 years, right? dn upon dt gives you here within 5 years, but this particular equation gives that you take another 10 years to reach the maximum number. Uske baad you are right, it may cross down. What is this particular factor? Kya ho sakta hai? Why you are not reaching? This is what the ecologists call, this particular shaded region is what is called as environmental resistance. Environmental, what is environmental resistance? I cannot breed because the weather is, right? I cannot breed because competition is there. I cannot breed because I cannot find the food items. I cannot breed because there is no nesting ground. Right? So this is called environmental resistance. So can I conclude from this particular study that if you remove the environmental resistance, then every individual has the tendency to show the maximum R, right? Every individual has all the tendency to get the base R, the base biotic potential, but they are prevented because of environmental resistance. Okay, so this is J-shape population growth, and this one is what is called S, or we call it sigmoidal growth. Sigmoidal, okay, growth. So S-shape and sigmoidal, and very interesting, if you look at the sigmoidal, this part is something like a J-shape, then reflex point, and it started decelerating the growth rate. So this is a very interesting illustration of the representation of the population growth. Now, when you look at your NCERT, you also happen to say human population can be divided into pre-reproductive, then reproductive, then we have post-reproductive. Now you can play with this. If the pre-reproductive is more, then what will happen? Next year they will enter into reproductive. So if this particular base is very big, then population is still going to increase. But if you look at the pre-reproductive and the post-reproductive are somewhat similar, you have a very stabilized population growth. Okay? But if and what happens if the reproductive is more and pre-reproductive is less, then aging, okay, population will be more and people will be worried what will happen to me when we become adult. Okay. I remember there is one particular fellow who came from US, again I am exactly forgetting the exact, we went to Bharatpur. There was a collaboration between the Rufus Foundation, so this particular American guy came to India and I have to take him to the Bharatpur bird national park, Kelidev National Park in Rajasthan, near Mathura it is there, it is an interesting place. So I went there. तो वहाँ पे दिन भर रिक्शा में बैठे फोटोग्राफी किया और इन द नाइट he was watching the YouTube whole night and next morning breakfast he was telling me the whole story about the kind of things that he show in the YouTube, and every time he talk about it I thought it might be about some movie or some natural, some documentary. He was talking about robots and robots and robots only. And he was saying me some of the robots were somersaulting just like human, okay, and that is all the reason why he must be 70 by this time now, okay. That time he was already retiring, but because of the project he came. He have one son working 12 hours away from the home that he is, and he has his wife who is also working in some. So when I inquire about his family, okay, he is a one-man army kind of a thing. Now he is worried, what will happen when I become, because no one will be spending time and staying with me because they are also engaged in their own pressurized work, and it will be wrong for me to stop my son, stop work and come and serve me, okay. So he was worried, and he was about robot, and he knew and was listing in his diary what kind of robots will be good, and he was talking about what kind of robot will be good to take care of his 40 dogs. He said he has 40 dogs. One dog is enough. So he has 40 dogs, and he was saying, and he said, why cannot you come regularly? No, I have my children. I said, what? So 40 dogs are his children. Okay, very interesting. So in Japan, people are in Osaka. I have been told by one of my friend, again, who have visited this 102 years lady cycling. Okay, so that's a great. Okay, longevity is increased. Demand is increased, healthcare facility is costly, so people are also restricting the childbirth, okay. And Indian middle class family is increasing, and we are also going to, if we do not work from now, okay, the kind of social issues that may arise, because we want to give our children the best education, the best medical facility, the best house, the best things, the best, it requires money. So very jokingly, one of my colleague who is serving in Tis Hazari, okay, he is a judge there, and we used to discuss during the admission process, we have certain issues. So he was saying that, and many of the guys came, and he is a boss. I went to his particular quarter in Timarpur, and there are volunteers of people coming and saying, plumber, he just give a phone call and many plumbers are there. And I asked those plumbers, how do they take money? No, they don't take money, they have cases in the court and they come in. And what is the case? Many of the plumbers have a very similar case. The case is property dispute because his 3 wives are demanding the share of his property. And I was very frightened. Most of the plumbers who came to his particular house for serving, I am sorry, they were all cases related to the stepwife, this wife, that wife. And then he told me very interestingly, my just friend told me, middle class family cannot imagine about this thing. It is when you are utterly poor, you can have many wives, or you are a Nawab or the king, the middle class family will always be happy with your nuclear family. Because you want to give best education to your daughter. I want to give the best musical instrument to my son. So in this, we don't have any time. We just are crazy with this great health, great education, great job, okay. And this population is increasing, okay. The country has to cut down the forests of the northeast to plant, okay, which one? Palm oil, because everyone wants to eat by frying, okay. Vegetable oil, just imagine how much we are consuming. So I am sometimes worried if the person who discovered momo came to Delhi, he will be, oh, मैंने तो ऐसे बनाया था. Now they are all frying, momos we eat by frying. Even my 2 kids, no papa, momo fried, okay. Momo is supposed to be eaten steamed, right? So in India, so we should not be afraid of any gustatory invasion. We have our own style of frying everything, okay, that comes here. So we demand a lot. So instead of, so there is a great lobby, is that this must tons of vegetable oils we get from Indonesia. Why don't we plant the palm oil here? There's a lobby, okay. Anyway, so this you please read your NCERT, okay, and then you will get it. NCERT Biology 12th standard, the last unit, okay. So you will get this particular beautiful pictures on the population demography and so on, dividends. Now, after the population growth, there is one particular term which is which I will not be discussing here, because that is something that we should discuss when we talk about community ecology and when we talk about biodiversity. For example, sometimes you might be really tricked by the ideas endangered species, critically endangered species. कहाँ से पढ़नी है? Newspaper से ही पढ़ना है, not from any textbook, please remember. Okay. So what are those critically endangered, vulnerable population that we will discuss in biodiversity, and I will tell you the sources also. Okay. For the time being, I think for population this many terms is more than sufficient. If you want to write the environmental resistance, there is a very interesting definition you can just note down. Environmental resistance. Environmental resistance. The difference between the maximum or biotic potential and the rate of increase that occurs in a laboratory or the fill condition, is taken as a measure of environmental resistance, is taken as the measure of environmental resistance. Okay, so that's enough. Okay, so we are now going to the second major concept, that is community ecology. So please write community ecology. Community ecology. Okay. What is meant by community ecology? Let's see. Have you ever heard about an English economist, writer, essayist called Thomas Malthus? Okay. He is popularly known for one statement: population increases food increases arithmetically, but population increases geometrically, or something like that, right? So that idea is very much sounding here. The environment will resist it, and that idea was taken by Darwin when he talked about survival of the fittest. Okay? Even a particular slow growing animal called elephant is not dying very quickly. The elephant that become mature after 20 years or 30 years, let's say, is giving birth child for few years. Even the elephant that is very slow grower is allowed to live and is allowed to attain the biotic potential. After few thousand years, the world will be covered by elephants and elephants and elephants, but it doesn't happen. A particular butterfly can lay around 4,000 eggs at one go. And if all of these particular eggs become alive, I think it will be so difficult, you will find it difficult to dust the butterfly from your chair and set it. Okay. You want to sit here, butterfly comes here. You want to eat, butterfly comes here. Okay. Butterfly देखने में तो सुंदर लगती है, but every time you are watching television, butterfly. Okay, you're spake, butterfly comes in between. It will be difficult, right? So it, but it doesn't. But why is it so? Because many birds are eating the caterpillars, many birds are eating the eggs, many of them die because of desiccation. These are all environmental factors, right? So environmental resistance is stopping us to reach the carrying capacity, or I mean the biotic potentials. So community ecology, let's see. We all started our journey from atoms and molecules and this, individuals and population, population and community, community and ecology or ecosystem. Rather. So community, let us define. When I talk about the community, a community will have plants, a community will have insects, a community will have birds, a community will have snakes, different populations, okay, belonging to different species come together, interact together and creates what is called community. So please define what is community. Then I will talk about the characteristics of community. Community is defined as a group of populations. Community is defined as the group of populations, group of populations plural is a group of populations, okay, populations bracket में belonging to different species, found living together in a given environment, right? There are deserts in Gujarat and Rajasthan, there are deserts in the Arizona in the US, there are deserts in Pakistan, but all these particular deserts, if you happen to go there, you will find different groups of plants and animals, and that constitutes community of that particular environment. Okay, they may not be very similar. There are grassland in Australia, there are grassland in India. In Australian grassland, you may find kangaroo, but Indian grassland, you may find, say for example, the great Indian bustard, right? So different communities, okay, in different environmental conditions. Please write the characteristics of the community. What are the characteristics of the community? What are the salient features of the community? Just like characteristics of population has natality, mortality and so on and so forth. So what constitute the characters of the community? Number one, okay. I am going to introduce a very interesting term, and that particular term is, you can write, please look at here. Suppose this is an ecosystem, okay. This is also an ecosystem. This is also an ecosystem, okay. Let us say ecosystem 1, ecosystem 2 and ecosystem 3. Suppose this particular ecosystem 1 is having A, and this is B, and say, and this is, if I happen to count the number of the individuals, I think they are one and same. 5 individuals, right? Very interestingly, when I go from this ecosystem to this ecosystem, here in this particular junction between this, I happen to find A also, B also and here some kind of X organism are also visible, which is not found here. Okay. Same is the case when I go from this particular ecosystem to this particular ecosystem. What I find here is B and C and also some W or XYZ. So, if I plot a graph here, normally ecosystem 1 have got 2 species, or the, so let us say number of species in ecosystem 1 and 2 and 3 is same. But when I talk about this particular, the number of the species tend to increase. The best example is, suppose this is a hill and this is a foothill and there is a water body and this is a grassland. When I go from the grassland to the forest, definitely there will be change in the species. Okay? Or the grassland has got 2 mammals and 2 birds, and this also have the same number of different, okay, variety. But during at this particular point, the meeting of 2 of these particular ecosystem, I tend to find more number of species in general than the respective ecosystem. Okay? So, if you look into the community wise, the species diversity of this particular meeting point of any of the 2 ecosystem adjacent, okay, this particular region tend to have a richer community diversity. I can give many examples why this number increase, because this particular boundary will be having some characters of this one, some characters of this one. So, there will be some animals or plants which are adapted to that milder conditions. Okay. As this is the intermediate boundary between these 2, B might be migrating here, A may also come here, because they cannot put a political boundary, right. So, many of the animals that you find in the Manas, okay, biosphere reserve, you will find in Bhutan also, because that is a boundary you do not have, right. So, this particular region of the community, which is a boundary between 2 adjacent ecosystem, that is what we call as ecotone. It is a very interesting term. Okay. So, please write ecotone, ecotone, ecotone. For example, this is ecosystem 1 and this is ecosystem 2, they are adjacent, and here in between you have the, here you have, here you have the ecotone. So, ecotone is this boundary. Okay. Please write ecotone. Ecotone is the transitional boundary. Ecotone is defined as the transitional boundary. Ecotone is defined as the transitional boundary between, two adjacent ecosystems. It is the transitional boundary, it is the transitional boundary, it is a transitional boundary between 2 adjacent ecosystem. Okay, 2 adjacent ecosystem. That 2 ecosystems should be sitting by the side of each other, should be adjacent, ekdam bagal mein rehna chahiye. Okay, like for example, foothills, okay, boundary, or the river bank. Okay, the river bank will be the boundary between. Okay, so any 2 ecosystem, that boundary is what we call as an ecotone. Please remember next characters called edge effect, edge effect, edge effect. This is the ecological phenomenon of, this is the ecological phenomenon of, this is the ecological phenomenon of finding, this is the ecological phenomenon of finding more number of species. This is the ecological phenomenon of finding more number of species in the ecotone, in the ecotone. This is the ecological phenomenon of finding more number of species in the ecotone. One of the reason is what? Because there is a mixing of 2 different ecosystems. and it might be having the characters of both and also a different unit which is here only, right. So, this is H effect. It might be because this H or this particular boundary might be having the characteristics of both the adjacent ecosystem. Okay. It is on its own unique. Okay. So, the next one is called stratification. The next characters is called as stratification. Stratification. This is defined as the vertical. This is defined, stratification is defined as the vertical zonation of, this is vertical zonation of life, vertical zonation of life. What does it mean? Tell me, where will you go if you have to find an earthworm? Where will you go? Where will you go to? Suppose if I give you, I will give you a chocolate if you bring an earthworm. I hope I will not go to McDonald's, right? You will go to a particular garden. And which part of the garden? On the subterranean, right? So, earthworm is found here where this particular grasses are there, humidity is there, and they are here. You have a khurpi, remove some grasses and dug it, and you will find earthworm. ऐसे नहीं कि you dug 5 feet, okay? They are not burrowing in that particular manner. If you have to find a particular butterfly, you don't go down, right? You chase among the flowers certain height. But if you want to get the mango, I need to climb, right? So, there is a vertical zonation of life. Do you also have this vertical zonation of life in water? Yes. If the light is able to penetrate, grasses will also be grown in water. But if you go down, there will be decomposers. So, if you want to find decomposers, suppose if you have to collect the prawn, where will you go? Bottom. Prawn is not swimming off, okay? You have to net ground, because most of the prawns are scavengers. They are waiting for the fish and others to die, and that particular animal we consider to be very costly, and some of you who consume it find it very tasty, like me, right? But please remember, it was the Britishers who popularized this particular culture of prawn to the prawnless regions. Okay, coastal area is one. The plain of India, you know, the northern plain, the Deccan, the northeast, we have a very beautiful culture, a very sustainable culture of eating insects. This is documentary proof. But after the Britishers came in Africa also, they considered the marginalized, they considered the slave as insect eaters. So, that particular things have changed our mindset. When somebody come, we also try to show that we also eat the same thing that you eat. Okay? We started eating with China clay, we started eating with this one, this cooking. Okay? So, the insect eating behavior was a very important, rich in protein, rich in vitamins, rich in minerals, okay? But it has lost. Okay? But today, okay, you are finding it repugnant, but my friend from Madhya Pradesh, I studied together, later on he become a medical representative, and he is a very, very, okay, is a very high ranking, okay. He is in Bhopal, so he happens to go to Thailand, he happens to go to many places, very interesting. You sell this particular products for this particular mark, then okay, whole year you can take an off. So, he had visited Thailand, and in the street of Thailand, he consumed grasshopper fried, and he said, Ojit, please don't tell my family, but it's so tasty. Okay. And it is exactly, I'm not exaggerating. Food and Agricultural Organization has come out with a report, one of the latest report. It says, in Thailand, The demand for the grasshopper is so much that Thailand itself is not able to supply. Thailand is importing grasshopper from Laos and Cambodia. Huge money. Okay. So, in England, they have started doing this. Okay. When you are buying something and you do not have a change, people started giving you flour and bread that is mixed up with the powder of grasshoppers and crickets dried. But food standard, okay, limits all are taken care of. So, this is in Europe they are starting doing this. This culture is so difficult to penetrate in England, in Switzerland. Okay. So, some of these particular factories have started producing, and this culture of entomophagy, eating insect as a food culture, is now coming up in the European countries. People are really worried. By 2050, you are going to have how much? 9 billion human population, but our agricultural productivity is decreasing. It is increasing only because of heavy pressurization and cutting down the forests. But insects rearing is very easy, is a delicacy for many of the people, rich in protein, easily digestible proteins, the animals. Okay. They said that this is the first white protein that is so easily digestible, and there is no zoonotic disease. It is only the virus they carry in the blood and then suck, and then we have suffering from dengue. But if you fry and eat any insect, no zoonotic disease, right? That's, it's a new culture, entomophagy. 2008 they started, Food and Agriculture Organization. 2012 again they have a report. 2021 they have again given a report. This is one particular culture that needs to be popularized. But colonialism has brought many of the loss of our food culture. It's true. Okay. So, you have this particular what? Strata, and even in the water you have open surface, warm, then till the region where the light is able to reach, there can be a growth of plants. For example, coral reefs are going to be found where? You do not find in the abysses of the ocean. Coral reefs are found in the continental shelves or the fringes around the island where the light is able to penetrate, because coral reefs have a partner called a zooxanthellae, is an algae that do the photosynthesis. They cannot do it without light. Right? So, there is a zonation of life. So, if I cut the ocean like a birthday cake, you can find layers and layers of life. Okay? This will be here, this will be here, this will be here. Even fishes, some fishes will be bottom dwelling, some fishes will be middle, and some fishes are found in the upper. That is why in one particular aquarium you can keep three varieties of fish, and they will be happily living there. Okay? Yes? Sharks are found, different sharks are found in different places. Okay? For example, there are some of the sharks which are crazily found in the coral reefs. They are hunting both those particular parrotfishes. They are generalists to a great extent. Okay? They are great predators, and they are generalists because they eat different ranges of food items, and that might be the reason why they have been gifted as the best swimmers, so that you can reach any places everywhere. Okay? But some animals are very specific. They eat only, for example, you talk about the blue whale, they are not carnivorous. They drink a lot of water, not inside the body, in the mouth, and they forcefully expel the water, and there is a comb like structures in their teeth. Whatever is entangled, they consume. This is called filter feeding mechanism. They do not hunt for a particular prey. This is called suspension feeding mechanism. They do it. Okay, आपने देखा होगा baleen हुआ. Just open the mouth, covered it. They have comb like structures that strains the water, and whatever things that is entangled, they consume it. Okay. Stratification means what? Vertical zonation of life. I am not talking about 1 meter, 2 meter, the slope of the hill. I am not talking. Even in that particular slope, you cut it, you will find floor of the forest, some trees, some shrubs, bigger trees, and different forms of living organism are going to be found. If you want to find the woodpeckers, the best thing is not the branches, but the vertical stem, trunk. They make there. So that is it. But if you want to find the owls, then you have to find an older tree with the holes in it. Okay. So vertical stratification is there in water as well as in terrestrial ecosystem. Number 4 characteristics is The number 4 is what we call as fidelity. Fidelity. Okay. Fidelity. Fidel. This is E. Fidel. What is fidelity? Fidelity turns out to be what we generally use called truthfulness. Okay. Not cheating. Fidelity. Highly fidel. Okay. Fidel. Infidelity. So what is this particular fidelity going to do in community? What does the word fidelity means? Suppose if I close your eyes, okay, what is a good name? Josna. Somebody blindfolded Josna, okay. Josna, you have already done your graduations and right, you have done geography in your schools. So if Josna is blindfolded by any one of us, put in a helicopter for 2 days, okay, then by the Jet Airways. After 7 days, we open, okay, somebody open this blindfold, and what Josna sees in front of her is a white landscape with polar bear going here and there. So what will you imagine? You have reached the Arctic pole, North Pole, hai na? Why do you say so? Suppose for example, if I blindfold Kamlesh and then send and then opens, he finds a lot of penguins, then you reach Antarctica. Why do you associate polar bear and penguin with the polar regions? Because they are always found there, right? They are very true to that particular ecosystem. Fidelity is that kind of a thing, okay? Our friend from Manipur will tell that there is one particular lily, water lily, you know, there is a land lily, okay. This is called Siroi lily. The Siroi lily is found blooming in one slope of the hills of Manipur. You will not find anywhere else in the world. It has been tried by all the botanists for the last more than 220 years since it was discovered. R.K. Narayan's wife, okay, who was very much a passionate gardener, wanted to bring it in the Mughal garden in India, in Delhi. It was unsuccessful. This plant is found there and there only. Even the local people might have plucked and, oh, you might have also heard about it, right? The Siroi lily. It's not possible. It is found there and there only. Why it is found in there and there only, we have to find out. It might be the microclimatic condition. It can be the pollinators which are found there only. It might be some limiting factors in the soil. It might be because of the amount of sunshine. I am talking about not sunshine or amount. In daytime, how much, okay. Or it might be the duration of night. We absolutely do not know. 220 years people have been trying to transport it to some other places, unsuccessful. This is called Siroi lily. It is found only in the Siroi hills. The scientific name is associated with the daughter of that particular discoverer, an English army, okay, who happened to walk there. You know, those particular time the army people were great naturalists, right? अभी भी आपने देखा होगा, people who are serving in the army in the free time, they become the best hunter, the best fishing man, and best photographer. You might have seen. Okay, people. Yes, you are asking something.
So I was saying that it must have some limiting factor.
Yes, definitely. But people, for the last 220 years, it has been shying away from our knowledge book. What is that? We do not know. Okay. So fidelity means truthfulness. Now you tell me what should be the new terms given to fidelity. ये बहुत पुराना वाला नाम है. Okay, it was given in 1771-72. Fidelity. We want to change it. Yes, you say. No, I could see from your lips that if you are not saying anything, I think that you had already mean. It is called endemic. मुझे लगता है कि you are talking about the endemic, right? Exactly. So at least my eyesight is still good enough. Okay. It is called endemism. It's a new term. Endemic. है ना? What is endemism? This is a property of some organism to be found in one particular community only, not anywhere else. For example, can you give me the example of 3 endemic species of India? The Royal Bengal tiger, the lion-tailed macaque, the great Indian bustard, है ना? The Sarus crane. So many examples, the Siroi lily which I have said. So endemic means they are found in a particular ecosystem only, right? So endemicity. This word endemicity is also important, okay, because it is a criteria for defining a particular place as biotic. You might have heard of hotspots, okay, particularly very rich. This is endemicity or fidelity. You can write endemism or endemicity is the degree to which a species is a degree. It is a degree. It is the degree to which a species is restricted in its occurrence. The species is restricted in its occurrence to a particular kind of community, Now, let us talk about another term called as dominant species. This is again one characteristics. Tell me which one will be the dominant? कौन सा डोमिनेंट होगा? Yes, C, A, C. Why not B? B is not there. So what is the dominant species? A is balancing. Okay. Please remember, here we use a particular criteria, that is numerical superiority. Okay. If numerical superiority is a function of dominance, then C is the dominant species. Okay. So please write dominant species it is a single or a few species, predominate within a community, Some characteristics of the dominant species are: number one, they occupy greatest in number. Number two, dominant species tend to play major role in energy transfer and they tend to occupy maximum biomass. Okay. Last point you can also add ecosystems are usually named, ecosystems or the biomes are usually named after the dominant species. Okay. Are usually named after the dominant species. Grassland, why? Grasses are dominant, right? Forests, trees are dominant. Coral reef biomes, coral are dominant. Okay. So, for example, when we name it, so these are some of the characteristics But the one which is always true is they occupy the maximum number. Okay? This is what is called dominant species. So, dominant species are dominant in terms of numerical superiority. There is another species which is also dominant, not by the number, but by the ecological role or the function that it plays, the interaction that it allows to play. This is what is called as keystone species. Keystone species. Okay. Keystone species. Please write. Keystone species are dominant in terms of the ecological role, that it plays, okay, in terms of the ecological role that it plays. Number two, ecological role that it plays. Number two, their effect on the community is, their impact or their effect on the community is disproportionate to their number, or disproportionate to their numerical abundance or the number. They might be very less in number, but they have major impact. Numerical abundance or number. Disproportionate to their numerical abundance ka matlab, they might be very little, but their impact is very large, indirectly proportional, right. So, in this particular institution that we are here standing and sitting and writing, there is only one director, but he might be impacting every one of us in terms of the salary of the teacher, in terms of the provisioning of the study materials to the students, right, in terms of arranging classes for you, right. So, there might be one who might be making a lot of changes, not by the number, but by the ecological role, by the function that it plays in an ecosystem. Okay? I will give you an example. Third, characteristics of this keystone species. Removal of the keystone species may lead to loss of diversity, or I can say removal of this particular species may lead into the ecological collapse or the structure collapse. Okay? They might be less, but they allow many relationships to take place. Number 4, characters of the keystone species. They create or modify or influence, they create or they modify, habitats, they create or modify the habitats, or influence interactions, influence the interactions among other species. Right. So, for example, you might have seen this kind of a structure thanks to Mughal architect. So, if you have a dome, there is a particular stone which is called keystone. They might be less in number, but you remove this, the whole structure collapse. It's something like the pillar. If you have a pillar removed, the structures may collapse. So, that is the kind of role that keystone species play. Let me give you a very simple example of the beaver. Okay. Beaver is a rodent. It is found in many of the wetlands in US. This particular beaver, they cut the trees during the spring season. They cut the trees, branches, and they bring to the, okay, they started making a dam with the help of cut woods and all. So, these particular creeks and rivulets, they will store water and large water bodies created. They make an Arden dam, very interesting. They will cut it, they will bring, and they will dam the water, river, and water started accumulating, a kind of lake will be created, small water bodies, wetland. Once the winter sets in, all covered by ice, but the water underneath this ice is warm, okay, and dense. And whatever branches they cut, they put it underground, and they are mammals, warm blooded, they do not need any kind of hibernation. They are very actively engaged in their life activities by depending on the food items that they stored in the spring season. Because of this particular activity, and very interestingly, when they make this dam, they cut the trees and make this pointed, okay, so that grizzly bear, when they come out, they may not, okay, this particular structures may be acting as a fort. So, they fortify their, okay, habitats like this. So, they are well protected, all covered by ice, but under the ground they live very active life. Okay. Because of them, large wetlands are created, migratory birds visits, many tortoises are there, right. But today, because of the loss of beaver, because of industrialization and urbanization, wetlands in many of the US are being lost. Along with it, many of the animals which live in the wetland are also going, okay, away. So, this is the kind of role that this particular organisms play. Another one in India, we have the lion-tailed macaque, Macaca silenus it is called as lion-tailed macaque. Lion-tailed macaque is endemic to the Western Ghat, and you find plenty of them in the Silent Valley, okay, National Park. This lion-tailed macaque, they are arboreal in nature. You know what is arboreal? They live on the branches of the tree. They rarely come down on the ground. Okay? And this particular animal, by feeding on the fruits and the flowers of the trees, they are responsible for the distribution of many of the fruiting trees in jungle. So, they are the great planters. And some of the scientists claim that near about 24 different species of leguminous tree are exclusively distributed by them. So, if you remove them, then what will be the situation? And this is an endangered animal now. And when this, you might have heard about the story of Ramakrishna Hegde, the Silent Valley project was supposed to come, and it was supposed to be converted into a hydroelectric power project. But many of the activists, okay, raised their voice, and it was not, and this particular animal was safe. Okay. So, it is a very interesting animal, and the number is less, but see 24 of the plants are distributed and pollinated by them. So, just imagine about many other species that are in turn depending on that 24 different species of plants. So, that is the role that keystone species play. Why elephants are considered to be the keystone species in the grassland? Savanna in Africa, the elephant is considered as the keystone species. It is said that if you remove the elephant, the savanna grassland may convert into a forest or the woodland.
So this storm over the grasses, they reduce the number of trees and
Slightly, the idea is very interesting, but examples have been slightly. Please remember, when do you find the grasses growing well? Proper sunlight or in the shady area? They like sunlight. Okay. So, in the grassland in savanna you have lot of grasses, but there are some scattered trees in grassland, right? You might have seen in Serengeti, in between you will find some these thorny, okay, what type of plants is that? Kikar jo hai, okay. So they find lot of acacia trees where the giraffes will be browsing. And these particular trees are still growing, but many animals have already migrated. They will come back here only when during the rainfall and grasses are coming up. So they migrate. Wildebeest are migrating, and it is said that there are two animals that you can see from the space. One is the migration of the wildebeest, another one is the Great Barrier Reefs of Australia. So wildebeest, when they migrate, lakhs and lakhs of them are migrating to find out the green pasture. But there are some of the trees are still there. You might be asking why these particular guys are moving away when the trees are there. They can at least eat the trees. But these particular trees are provided with many of the mutualistic partner, like the ants. The biting is very painful, okay. And also it is not very profitable for them to have thousands of them feeding on few trees, so they move away. When the rainfall comes, the moment the rainfall comes, all these particular seeds on the ground, they will try to germinate. And just imagine this acacia tree in 1 year, I think they might also be releasing thousands of seeds on the ground. So in the next rainfall, many of them might grow, okay. Out of that, let's say 5 of them survive, and they are going to grow for another 20 years. And they are going to shade an area. In those shady area, grass cannot be grown well. So if this particular things continues, after 500 years, this might convert into woodland, then it might become a particular kind of the forested ecosystem. It is prevented because number one, these particular trees are eaten by the elephant. You know the elephants, these tucks, is not for puncturing some animal, is not to eat some herbivores. This teat is very essential for removing the bark of the tree. You know that the xylem and phloem, the conducting tissues of the plant, is there in the bark of the tree. Okay. So when you remove the bark of the tree, what will happen? The tree will die. Elephants are very crude, okay, eaters. So they remove the bark of the tree. Elephants, this particular teat might be used for during the mating to fight against others or to show the alpha males, but it is also very essential to collect the salt from the caves, from the rock, because they eat a lot of grasses, they find a lot of acidity. So many of these animals, they lick the salt from the stone, but elephants, they try to remove the salt from the rock. So this is very useful. So this particular elephant, they will remove the bark of the tree. Here the story is incomplete still, because elephant, with the help of this nose, trunk, it removes the root of the tree, and they eat the softer portions of the leaves, roots of the trees also. This particular behavior removes large number of trees from the Serengeti. So they are very less in number, but the grassland that provides the habitat for wildebeest, that provides the habitat for many of the charismatic cats. You have cheetah, then you have the lions, then you have hyenas, you have foxes. All of them are depending on the grassland habitats, not on the tree. So please, interestingly, this elephant's destructive feeding behavior is in one way acting as a keystone species for a grassland. Okay. So that's now you remove this particular elephant, the impact will be, the structure of the ecosystem will change, right. So keystone species are dominant because they play important ecological role. Dominant species are dominant because they play important roles in the energy transfer and also in the biomass, that they are the founding members of the transfer of energy in many cases. So the next one is what is a number? Are you writing in number wise? 6. So 7 I have to write. 7. Okay. So if somebody asks you, from where do you come from? The last student, you are from which place? Uttar Pradesh. Okay. Next one. Uttar Pradesh. Haryana. Karnataka. Now, where do you stay? You stay in Rajendra Nagar. You stay in here. When I ask, where are you coming from? Where is your home? I'm from Uttar Pradesh, right? Where do you stay here? I said in old Rajendra Nagar, C1 by 19. I don't know whether this is there. So this is, so when you say that you are from Uttar Pradesh, and when you say that I stay in old Rajendra Nagar, what is the difference? हो सकता है कि the home, the house that you are renting might be bigger and more spacious than the small room that I have attached to the balcony in Lucknow, for example. But what is the difference between your home and this home? Something that is unique? Something unique? Yes? It's a native. So what is the difference between native and this migrant house? This is for temporary. Yes, we are coming out. This is temporary. It's not a permanent. And what else? What are you going to find in your permanent home? I'm going to find my relatives. है ना? यहाँ पे नहीं हो सकते. वहाँ पे relatives है. Same is the case. If I go to Delhi Zoo and you ask this question to a Royal Bengal tiger that is kept in the zoo, boss, you're from which place? So the reply will be, I am from Sundarban Delta. Exactly, right? If I could communicate with it, I'm not a Solomon, but if I got that power, you know, Solomon is called as the wisest man, wisest king. King Solomon, suna hai? We use this particular proverb, as wise as Solomon. Solomon was an Israeli king, okay? And Solomon could communicate with animals. The Rudyard Kipling, in his Jungle Book, the first chapter, a poem is written by him. The greatest man, the wisest king, the wisest man is the one who could talk to butterfly, who could talk to insects, who could talk to animal. Okay? Who is the wisest woman? Who is the wisest woman? According to, you know, this wisest man is Solomon. Wisest queen, the wisest woman is the Queen of Sheba, is from Africa, and Queen of Sheba came in the court of the King Solomon to challenge. Okay? Both of them claim to be the wisest. And now the lady is coming with 40 of her escorts in the court of King Solomon to challenge him. Okay? So I do not know how do they measure the IQ and others, so she came to challenge. Now the task is very simple. 40 of the escorts that she brought is bringing one beautiful rose flower, and all of them were made up of paper except one which is the real. Now Solomon has to find out. 4 days ago, when Solomon was sleeping, one of the honeybee came and stung him, and he felt very unhappy because he was grooming at that time because Sheba is coming. He has to be presentable. So he was looking at the mirror, and when he see it, okay, his nose was, you know, double the size of it used to. Then King Solomon became very angry and he said, all the animals please come out and tell me who have done this wrong to me. Okay. And King Solomon, being a very brave, kind hearted, do good for the animals because he could listen to the animal. Okay. So everyone was coming and no one was able to utter even a single word, trembling. But at that particular time, the tiny little honeybee came and said, look, king, once I came in your room and you were sleeping, your cheek and nose were so pink and so beautiful, I thought that it is one of the juiciest fruit in the world. I came, Solomon ke ego ekdam said, okay, I pardon you. So on the day when Queen Sheba was coming, Solomon was really crazy, मैं क्या करूँ तो कैसे? So that particular honeybee came and was roaming and hovering round and round and finally landing on the rose, which was real. And that's how King Solomon selected, this is the one, and he married the wisest woman, okay, the Queen Seba. Okay. So interestingly, it said that if you want to become the best, okay, Rudyard Kipling, I am not saying, okay, the Nobel laureates, okay, who wrote the Jungle Book while he was, the idea was the Madhya Pradesh jungle, right? He was a Britishers, okay, from India and got a Nobel Prize. And he in his Jungle Book, in the first, if you buy this book, if you download, the first chapter begins with this interesting poem. The wise man is Solomon and this and that. So interestingly, yes, where were you with keystone species, and then we talk about these particular questions, okay. So you ask these questions, okay. From where do you come from? Okay, you ask. What is your good name? Yeah. Snigdha. So have you ever gone to Delhi Zoo? Anybody who have gone to Delhi Zoo? You have gone, okay, gone. Interesting, right? You see tiger. In winter, these tigers are kept with a blower on. Lot of money is being spent. I taught one of the students in this particular classroom who was the daughter of the director. Okay, sir, we spend around 2 crores of rupees in one tiger. Because the tiger has to eat the food items, meat, which is sealed by the veterinary doctor. And the tiger is being fed by not, okay, Tom and Harry, is fed by a well certified, okay, animal behaviorist, a veterinary doctor, or the caretaker, zoo caretaker, special course you have to do it. Then only it goes and tiger. So Snigdha might be saying that, oh, your home is in Sundarban Delta. It's good that you are staying in Delhi, you have an air conditioned room, kids are coming, having ice cream and greeting you, right? So you must be very, very happy. But you go to the Sundarban Delta, it's a very different landscape. I am coming here to fish when the high tide is there. When the low tide, the road is lost. And all these places are what? Spikes. The roots are pointing upward. Okay. If you happen to read The Hungry Tide by Amitav Ghosh, you will really realize how difficult the Sundarban Delta is. It is beautiful for us. It is beautiful to look at pictures, right? But it is not very, very when you go there. So you might be asking to the tiger, oh, it's good that you are in Delhi having the best food and a lot of people are taking care of you. Don't go to the Sundarban Delta. Okay. So you are from UP, sir, stay in Delhi, but you always have this hunger to go to home, right? Or you don't want to go? You want to go, okay. We want to go, okay. So the tiger, given an opportunity, will he be happy to stay in Delhi Zoo or to go to Sundarban? Why? What for? Because your relatives are there, but relatives make you criminals, right? You have seen Pan Singh Tomar, he's a national champion, a patriot, come home, pick up the wrong gun. So anyway, so please let's come to the point. In a community, okay, if you start asking this question, where do you come from? Where do you stay? You are asking about the permanent address. So address of an organism is what? Address of an organism is the place where the organism is living naturally. Delhi Zoo is not a natural home, right? Naturally means you will have your natural partner, you will have your predator, you will have your prey, you will have your feeding ground, you will have your hiding ground, you will have your breeding ground. All these things is not available in Delhi Zoo, right? So natural home, that is the reason why you want to go back to your home, where my parents are there, my relatives are there, okay. So this is what is called as address. So I am going to talk about the address of an organism. In the community ecology language, address of an organism is what is called as habitat. So please write what is habitat. A habitat is defined as the place A habitat is defined as the place where an organism is. A habitat is defined as a place where an organism is, living there, where an organism is living there naturally. Please underline this word, naturally, where an organism is living there naturally. Natural food, natural river, right, natural habitats. So, habitat of an organism is the place where an organism is living there naturally. Please remember E.O. Wilson, okay, term habitat as the address of an organism, okay, it is an address of an organism. So, I had also cited, so for the Royal Bengal tiger, the national animal of India, the natural home or the habitat is the Sundarban Delta, right, the Sundarban, the mangrove forests. Now, let us ask the question again to this particular tiger in the Delhi Zoo. So, Stingray is still asking, what do you do in your habitat? अगर आप पूछते हैं, what do you do? So these tigers, I always come at 9 o'clock and eating, you are eating, sleeping, but what do you do in Sundarban Delta? So what might be the reply of that tiger? पूछता है, yes, yes, exactly. The tiger will say, I am a predator there. Will be hunting, right? I am a predator. If you ask to a particular kangaroo, he said, I am a boxer. But kangaroos are greatest boxers, if you happen to see. Many of the boxers might have learned the steps from them. Okay? So it's very interesting. Kangaroo will stand and kick. It's very interesting, please. If you have any of the coach who is training, you can get the kangaroo will be the best answer. But if I ask the same question to kangaroo, what do you do there in the desert? He said, I am a herbivore, right? So, if you ask the ecological role of an organism in each habitat, it will be called as niche. So, please write niche of an organism is defined as the role niche of an organism is defined as the role that an organism plays in its habitat is called as a niche. And according to E.O. Wilson, niche is also defined as, what is the term associated with the role? What is my role here? I am a teacher. When I don't know anything, I am teaching, acting like a teacher. What is your role? Student, right? When do you go back at home? No. आप चेंज होती है, पढ़ते तो हैं. I do a lot of ecology here, ये वो, but when I go back at home, okay, I play the role of a father to a daughter, role of a husband to wife, role of a son to the mother. Your role changes, है ना? When you go back. So very interestingly, your niche is very much defined by the habitats that you are in. Okay? Suppose in the metro, there are so many people. If you ask, where are you going? I am going to the post office. There might be many reasons why you go to the office. I am the postmaster, or I am going to speed post a letter. Role differs, right? So in that particular office, you will be listening the problems of others as a postmaster, or you will be going there to deposit a parcel box to send to your sisters at home, right? She wants some study materials from Delhi, you are going there. So your role changes. वहाँ जाकर के you also become the postmaster. When the postmaster is already there, I think there will be a lot of competition and fight, right? So if you ask what is your role, that means what? What is your occupation? So according to Eva Wilson, niche of an organism can be considered as the occupation of an organism, can be considered as an occupation of an organism in its habitat, occupation of an organism in its habitat, right? So please remember, when we talk about the niche, that is the ecological role, it is multi-dimensional. It is multi-dimensional. Okay? It was given by people like Hutchinson. Why it is called as multi-dimensional? Okay? I am acting as a postmaster in a particular post office from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Because your niche is also defined by the time that you stay in that particular habitat. You are a hunter, but you hunt during the daytime only. Are you getting? So tiger will say, or say the lion will say, oh, I am the king of the forest. Where you are a king in the daytime. But in the hyena, a pack of wolves will be active at night. And even the lion will be difficult to venture out. Same habitat. Okay? Similar roles, but at different times. So if I have to draw a graph of the niche of one person, it cannot be done by 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 2 coordinates. You will need multiple coordinates. What I am saying is, suppose a bird is flying here and eating the insect. I can draw this particular point by 3 coordinates, right? X axis, Y axis and Z axis. But you are missing the time. Okay? At the same time, there are so many insects here. Why the bird is here only? Because here the bird is getting an insect which is more nutritious or a particular variety. So if I have to draw a particular point that represents the niche of an organism, it can be done only by layers and layers and many informations, not by one alone. Okay? Tiger is a hunter, grassland is being fed by the herbivores like the kangaroo, but there is a time. There is a particular patch where he or she visits more. And whenever you go there, you will be accompanied by somebody, for example. So there are multiple data required for drawing the exact niche of an organism. Hence they said is multi-dimensional or multi-volume, because in a particular Cartesian plane with 4 points I can draw a rectangle, with 8 points I can draw a cube or whatever it is. But this particular cube is not sufficient to reflect the niche dimension. It has to be discussed with many okay, references. Hence it is a multi-dimensional. But anyway, for this particular exam, remember, niche of an organism is the ecological role that it plays in its habitat, and it will change if you change the habitat. Okay? It is a function of the habitat. It is very much about the space and also the time of your activity there in that particular habitat. Is it okay? So habitat is the address of an organism and niche is the occupation that you play in that particular habitats, right? So please remember what will happen. Suppose this is the niche of A. This many numbers of A is feeding this particular ecological dimension, okay? And this one is the niche of B in a particular grassland. Will there be a competition if you see this particular kind of graph? No, because A and B are not meeting each other, right? Some cows and buffaloes are feeding here, some monkeys are feeding here, right? Some rabbits are over there, they are not meeting each other. But if they come closer, what will happen if the A niche is here and B is here. So I think here in this particular portion you have the what? Overlapping of the niches. Okay. If the overlapping of the niches, then what will happen? Competition will comes into picture, right? Competition will comes into picture. You want to eat samosa? Right. You also want to eat samosa, but there is only one samosa in my shop. What will happen? I am from Aurangabad. I am the son of the largest farm owner. Okay. You are also from Maharashtra, Karnataka. Okay. So you come to Bangalore, I'll see. Okay. If you say that I will pay double the price that she gives, give it to me. She also said that if it is so that I will pay more than what he pays. Well, how will I pacify the situation? You want to sit in this particular chair only. He also wants to sit in this chair. She also wants to sit in this chair. Then what will happen? You should be strong enough to put them two here, and both of them also be happily sitting on top of you. But that will be too difficult for this chair also. Okay. But surprisingly, she is also occupying this chair. You are also occupying this chair. When will it be possible? Suppose for in general studies ecology, you are sitting here. In the morning class, she is sitting here, right? In the evening class, you are here. All the three students are occupying the same front chair at different times. The earth is only one. So many species are feeding on it. Is it not because of the niche differentiation that we are coexisting? Is it not because of the niche differentiation that coexistence is possible? Yes. नहीं तो competition ही competition रह जाता, right? Suppose you said that Kamlesh said that, oh, I want to eat only the inside part of samosa, and it turns out that you like only the cell membrane of the samosa. I think one samosa is enough, right? Because your preference is the inside masala of the samosa, fried along with the outside. And your interest is what? Whenever I eat, I take out the outside one. I think that will be satisfying both the friends from Maharashtra and Karnataka. Otherwise, it will be difficult. क्या होगा बाद में? नहीं मुझे नहीं ये खाना. Then I will say that please आप दोनों छोड़ जाओ because this is 5 days old. And so I have already taken 15 days old samosa, no issue. She said that if the samosa is even 1 year, I will eat it. Then the last solution will be fight. The one which will come out as the winner. So at last, if the overlapping is like this, either A survives or B survives, or A stops and B survives, or the these things, vice versa. Coexistence is not possible at all. If you are going to eat the same thing at the same time, same size, same color, extremely difficult, right? That is the reason why some of the things are very costly. We don't have any other Mona Lisa rather than the one in Louvre Museum. That's why it is protected by bullet proof. It is put in an air conditioned room and you cannot take much time to look at it. Unlike Balaji in Tirupati, you pay more money, you can do puja also, but Mona Lisa you cannot do puja. You stay in here because so many people say that you will kick out, only few seconds, okay, you go out. There is only one, okay, right. So please remember, niche differentiation, what? Relaxes the competition, please write. Niche differentiation, niche differentiation, niche differentiation relaxes, niche differentiation relaxes competition, relaxes competition and allows coexistence, okay. It is because of niche differentiation, right? Competition, it relaxes the competition pressure and it allows coexistence. I will give you one of the simplest example given by Chapman, an English ecologist, but this is just a part of it. We exactly do not know the totality of it. And very interestingly, it is like this. Let us remember, let us think that this is a leguminous tree. This is a leguminous tree, and this is the tree. And here in this particular case, tell me, there's only one species, right? Only one species. Tell me, where will you find rhizobium? The roots, rhizobium. Rhizobium. What is rhizobium doing here? What is the habitat of the rhizobium? A leguminous tree. And what is it doing there? Ecological role. It's a nitrogen fixing bacteria. The bark of the tree is a rich source of cellulose for many of the insects. So, many insects lay the eggs in the larva, and the larva develop in the bark of the tree. So, you might have heard about something called as bark beetle. Many a time if you go to the village, okay, when you are not vernishing the furniture, you hear that rhythm, okay, they eat it, and powder will be pollen. Okay. So, this is very interesting. So, these are bark beetle, they eat the bark of the trees. So, where is the habitat of this particular insect? The leguminous tree. And these particular barks are disturbed if you are just hitting, tuck, 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 it creates a stimulus for them to come out. And that is why the woodpecker is coming to this particular to eat the bark tree, bark beetle. Where is the habitat of this particular woodpecker? The tree. What is it doing there? Is larvivorous, is hunting the larva on the bark of the trees. It flowers. So, the bees are coming. What are the bees doing? Pollinating and sucking the nectars. And because of the bees, some birds are coming called as bee eater. They come to exploit the bees which are making their hives on the branch of a certain tree, this leguminous tree. Okay. Then there will be some of these parrots coming to eat the fruits. There will be grasshoppers, and to eat the grasshoppers, lizards will come, like the garden lizards. Only one tree. How many species are here? At least 8 here, but it must be more than this. So, there is only one tree, but how many of them are depending here without killing each other, or without means having too much of the pressure? At least the woodpecker is not having a competition with the parrot or the bee eater. Same habitat, but because their roles are different, so a particular tree can accommodate large number of species. Is not it because of niche differentiation? Yes, right. So, last, okay, for today I will give you one particular term. Suppose you are a tiger, the whole of this particular landscape, grassland, is your kingdom. You can go to any place and hunt. This maximum size of the niche that an organism can enjoy is what we call as fundamental niche. Fundamental niche. Remember, this is the maximum size of the niche of an organism. Suppose this particular lion is meeting a group of lions here, a group of hyenas here, a group of say some competitors, then he is unable to roam around in this area. He is restricted to this particular size of the total size of the niche. This particular niche that the lion can hunt in the presence of the other competitors is what is called as ecological, or it is called as realized niche. Okay. So, there are this particular term which is called as ecological niche or the realized niche. Please write, fundamental niche is the maximum size of an organism. Fundamental niche is the maximum, okay, size of the niche of an organism, maximum size of a niche of an organism when there is no competitors, when there is no competitor. In the absence of competitor, I think in the absence of any of the student, you can occupy any of the chair. If you are the last person coming, you will be occupying only the one which is empty. है ना? Every chair in this particular room will welcome you and will not regret you sitting there. But if some of the seats are already occupied, then you go for the one that is available to you. So please write realize or ecological niche. Realize or ecological niche is the niche of an organism, 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 okay, when competitors are present. Is the ecological niche or realized niche is the size of the niche that an organism enjoy or organism is able to have in the presence of competitors, in the presence of competitors. So please remember, if you are asked when will a particular individual occupy its fundamental niche, when there is no competitor, okay. But when there is a competitor, you have realized niche. And can an organism have a realized niche much bigger than what we claim here? Absolutely not. Okay. The maximum size that a particular, so whole Serengeti, but it will be too difficult for this guy to run. So he will be occupying a certain territorial area. Okay. So you have this particular terms for today, and we will continue with certain other terms associated with community ecology. And tomorrow, if we could complete, we can go to biodiversity. So please read from the NCERT without any failure a topic on ecological succession. Okay? आप ecological succession पढ़ के आ जाइए. Please read it and come. If you have any doubt, queries, so you can. Online students are asking questions. Sigmoidal growth, or also called as logistic growth, is the growth that takes place when there is an environmental resistance, when there is a competition, and in this particular case, you always involve the carrying capacity, K value. dN upon dt becomes 0 when you have the N value equivalent to the K value. Community is a group of populations occupying a given environment, or we can say it is a group of individuals belonging to different species living in a particular ecosystem or environment. Just replying two more questions than I will. Community, some of the terms are very much there in your study materials, and this has been spread out in your NCERT textbook. You have to collect, and that is what I am doing it. No, niche it was defined by so many people, but it is E.O. Wilson who gives this particular interesting idea that niche can also be called as the occupation of an organism. But the word niche is associated with people like Joseph Grinnell, who work on birds in Cornell University. What if an animal born in the presence of competitors only, then it is ecological niche will be its fundamental. See, these are a concept, whether the animal is born with the competitors or not. If the competitors pressures are reduced, then you would be able to realize your fundamental niche. Fundamental niche can be, cannot be expanded, but it is restricted because of the competition, and hence you have the realized niche. Yeah. Thank you.